continue to follow the heartbreaking news out of Hartford, where the investigation is continuing into the death of Hartford police officer Bobby Garton.
Channel 3 Eyewitnesses reported Cassidy Williams is live outside of police headquarters, and there's a growing memorial there. Cassidy?
There is, Wendell. Ever since the Hartford Police Department set up this memorial, it has been growing with flowers and photos of Officer Bobby Garton. And as the community and the department mourn his death, the investigation into how this happened is now in the hands of Connecticut State Police. The suspect, 18-year-old Richard Barrington, went through court yesterday. Court records say after he was pulled over for turning left on red, Barrington took off, blowing through 2 red lights before hitting the police cruiser. Police say the cruiser was responding to an unrelated call at the time of the crash. Officer Garton was in the passenger seat and died. The driver of the cruiser, Officer Brian Kearney, is at last check with police in the hospital with serious injuries. Right now, the suspect is only charged with a number of motor vehicle violations, things like driving an unregistered car. But the judge set his bail at $1 million because prosecutors say they are looking into more serious charges. Court records say Barrington is an 11th grade student and he only has his learner's permit. He's expected to be back in court in a few weeks. And as